Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing some pond fishing. Going to be testing some new baits. Going to fish a few of my old baits, but love the opportunity that when I get to test out some new baits that a sponsor sent in the mail, and when that happens, it's like Christmas in June or July. You never know what you're going to get, never know what to expect. So I love to see those packages come in, and even better, I like to get out on the water and test them out, see how they swim, see how they see what the fish think of them. Plus, I'm gonna throw some of my old baits today. I'm gonna do a jig and trailer. I'm gonna do a plastic worm, but one of my favorites, I got some new crankbaits in I'm gonna try. I got some little worms. I got some new dotted worms, some cream I'm gonna try. So stick around, let's go pay a few bills. Let me get my boat in the water and get set up, and we'll see what we can get into. This ought to be a lot of fun. I'll see you when I get back. Would you like to spend your summer riding your motorcycle? Don't spend your time on the side of the road waiting on a tow truck. Give DJ's Enhanced a call for all your motorcycle tire needs. Danny is a rider, and he will treat your bike as if it's his own. There we go. They like that lizard. Where you going, buddy? Where you going? Come on around here, let's talk. Oh yeah, that's a strong fish. Look at that thing jump out of that water. I love it. I love it. Let's get you on in here. Pretty fish, pretty fish. All right, calm down. Come on in here where I can play. Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good healthy largemouth. Stuck him right in the top of the lip like he's supposed to be. Good hook set. That Gamakatsu held. My first couple bites, I think I had too small of a hook, and it was wadding up in the plastic, and so I bumped it up to a 4/0 or 5/0 Gamakatsu, which is extremely sharp, about like these little teeth here, and that's the result. Fine, fat little largemouth running these edges, eating whatever it can get in its mouth. I don't see any telltale signs of claws or fin sticking out of his gullet, but he's definitely feeding. So put you back. We're gonna reset my lizard back up and see if he's got a friend in the same area. This is a really good combination in the summer. Early summer, late spring, whatever you want to call it. Now I have damaged this part of the worm, so what I'm going to do, instead of throwing this worm away, I'm going to show you a little trick. I'm going to rig this worm upside down, and I'm going to get another use out of it. And there you have it. As that thing will, and I'm fishing with a very small, like a 1/16 ounce little clamp-on bullet weight. I've got sunscreen all over my hands, so I'm going to put a little fish attractant on there. I don't know so much about fish attracting fish. I'm not sure I believe that they're going to run to my bait because I squirt the fish attractant on there. But if you've got gasoline or petroleum-based products or anything, sunscreen or anything else on your hands, That is not natural to a brim or a bass or a crappie or any of these other fish. And so if they get up close to it, they may shy away from it. They may suck it in their mouth and blow it out immediately because it doesn't taste natural. So that's why you will see me, especially on these hot days when you can tell I've got sunscreen on. I'm gonna use the sunscreen and I'm gonna use the fish attractant to hopefully keep these fish held on to that, oh, there's another bite. Hold on to that bait just a little longer. If you don't take anything away from today's show, I hope you take that. It's not necessarily gonna rush the fish to your bait, but if you've got something on your hands, it's liable to mask that bait or mask that smell so the fish can hang on long enough for you to set the hook. Oh, that fish held on. Oh no, that was my fault for talking too long. He was running while I was talking. So I've seen several flipping around the edges, little bait fish jumping out of the waters, all kinds of commotion. So I'm gonna work this area for a few minutes with this lizard. There's a bite, I think. I think he's coming to me. Nope, he dropped it. Maybe we'll get one to pick it back up. I'm not going to waste a lot of time working it all the way back to the boat because I've seen fish running the edges. Even though this is a really hot part of the day, if you find them working the edges, even if it's hot, go ahead and fish the edges. Normally you would think they would be in the deeper section of the water where it's cooler, but if they're feeding, and you got to take advantage of it every time. There's a hit and a fish. That's what I like. Feeding fish, it's nothing better. This may be about the same size. Oh yeah, what a pretty fish. All right, don't you get by my anchor rope. Are you about done with all that? Ease on in here. Up. All right. Got him. Now this one's not hooked quite as good. Came right out. Actually a little smaller, but he was still a really strong pull. Nice, healthy. This pond's in good shape. These fish got great color. They're eating well. Back you go. And as long as they're feeding, I'm gonna continue to work this little area with this lizard before moving on. That lizard's still good. My line's still good. I'm kind of turned a little different way, so I'm gonna cast down the bank. Still working the edge. I know you can't see that edge, but I'm still working it. I think they're feeding this area. There's got to be something holding them in this area. There's either a brim have spawned out, and they're all up in this area because this is shallow water, and it's up in the, it's in the 80s, probably 80. I don't have my temperature on right now, but it's in the 80s, probably 83 or 84 degrees. Now here's another trick. You can work, once your worm begins to get torn up, what I have done now is I have rigged this worm from the side. You can actually rig it 4 different times and still catch fish. Because when that worm gets fluttered down on the bottom and twitches, it's still, even though it's rigged a little different each time, still looks like it's foraging for food around or crawling across the bottom. The thing is, you really want to keep the worm straight on the hook. I like to keep the tip of that hook exposed. I push it all the way out the side of the worm. That's why you don't want too small a hook. You want that hooked out, so when that fish gets it and you set the hook, you catch the fish. Too small a hook, you can't get a hook set. Too big a hook on a soft plastic bait, and the bait won't have good action. So there's a fine line, and that's, each bait, you know, has a specific size hook. Usually a 6-inch worm, I'm going anywhere from a 3-4/0 hook. Unless it's a thick bait, then I'll go with a 5 or bigger. And I think there's more fish to be caught in this one area right here. And that got torn off. I think a turtle got a hold of my lizard that time, because I never felt anything. That's a clean bite right through that worm. That would be a turtle. So now we need more bait. There's a bite. They do like my lizard today. This cream 6-inch watermelon seed lizard is doing the trick. Look at that thing go. Oh, water everywhere. So much fun. All right, get on in here, buddy. Quit wetting everything I got. We'll have to get him. His hook is in the bottom lip, so I don't need to lip him. He will stick me. All right, let's get a grip. Find my little tools. I think they're getting a little smaller, but we're still catching them. Same bait, same technique. Back you go. Now I'm gonna have to get dried off. Got water on my glasses. Gotta check my camera. Fish jumping on the other side, so I may move and see if the fish that are schooling up on the other side are any bigger than what's schooling up on this side. I'll see you when I get reset up. There we go. My goodness, what we got? I have changed baits. Went to an ultralight rig with one of my new crankbaits that I got in the mail this week, and it just paid off. I think I've only got him by one little hook, so I got to be really careful. Oh, he's wet and everything. Easy, 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 easy. Easy, 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 easy. Don't put that in my hand. There we go. Oh my goodness. They do like to splash water. One little hook's all it's got him. There it is. One little hook. He's about the size of the last one. Healthy little fish. Get you back. I want to show you the setup. I'll show you the other setup I was using in a minute. But this is a little ultralight rig with 4-pound test line. Might have to retie with a brand new bluegill pattern, little square bill crankbait from Easy's Lures. First time I have ever tied this bait on, and it works pretty good. Now this is a suspended model. It'll actually sink, but it sinks really slow. So when you bring this through the water and stop, it'll actually stop and just barely begin to sink. It won't float back up to the top, so if you snag something on bottom, it's not going to try to pull itself back up. But that suspending action is often what triggers a strike. You can pull it, let it rest, pull it, let it rest, and when it stops in the water column, a lot of times they grab it. It's like fishing a jerkbait in the winter on some of your bigger lakes. Smith Lake is an excellent jerkbait lake. Lake Guntersville's good in the winter with a jerkbait. And you kind of fish these, or you can fish these the same way, or you can just throw them out and reel them in, and they will run them down and inhale them. But they're very versatile baits. They look just like the forage that the fish are eating. The bluegill pattern is just, they're awesome. And this bait has a rattle. You can hear it. So they can hone in on that noise, the vibration, and when they get to the bait, it looks just like the real thing. Now guys, I'm gonna go back to the Lizard for a few minutes and work this new stretch. It's got a lot of grass out in the water, a lot of snags, places for fish to hide. And I want to show you this setup. I mentioned it before. It's a 6-inch watermelon seed Lizard made by Cream with a tiny weight. I don't want a lot of weight. I don't need a lot of weight because we're working shallow water, and I just want it to float down naturally, just sink down and barely nudge along the bottom. 10-pound test line, fishing with a 7'3" Fathomworks rod. This is a custom rod sent to me by Fathomworks. I absolutely love it for fishing the wacky rig when you use a small weight or no weight on a piece of soft plastic. Texas rig, it has a really soft tip. You've got enough backbone in this rod to set the hook, but the tip is really soft. It allows you to throw really, really light baits with no problem whatsoever. Now you don't want to use this rod, say, for a 3/8 jig or a 1/2 ounce jig or something like that. It won't feel right. But for your smaller baits, it works really well. I just flat out missed that fish. Nearly got a black eye because of it. And sometimes that happens. So we're gonna put it back in there. We know one's in there. He wanted that lizard just like his buddies on the other side wanted it. There's some on this side that wants it too. Well, the bass seem to have slowed down. So I'm gonna see what the brim will do. I've seen a lot of activity on the water. Ever since I've been here, there's been brim and little bass popping bugs, so, oh, we had one on first cast. That may account for all the action that I've been seeing on the water. So we'll see if we can catch a few. There we go. There's a bite. Oh, it came off at the boat. So many times when the bigger fish slow down, the bite slows down, and you think it's time to pack it in and call it a day. If you just scale down to a smaller bait, it often turns everything back around. Now I've left my camera off for a little while, and I've been doing a little brim fishing, and I've probably got 8 or 9 little fat brim in my cooler because of it. But not only have I caught a few brim on such a tiny little bait when everything else seems to have just completely shut down, I've caught a few bass, probably a pound and a half, on a little tiny bait that you wouldn't never think they would look at. But never be afraid to scale down when the bite gets tough, because it will, again, many times it'll just save your whole day. Which today we've caught quite a few bass on conventional size tackle, but many days you struggle. Oh, I missed another one. And you don't always have to. Just scale down. I mean, it's probably not gonna save many tournament fishermen's days, but for the average fisherman that doesn't want to go home and go, man, I didn't catch a fish. Look here. This will save the day, time and time again. And that's a good fish there. Look at that brim. That's an eater. I might have to put him in the cooler, take him home with the rest of them. Pretty sure. But that will save a fishing trip just by scaling down and sometimes slowing down and rethinking what you're doing will oftentimes change your whole outlook of what's going on. You know, bugs were hitting the water all day. There was a lot of activity on the pond, and we didn't ever see any big bass jumping. I caught some pound and a half, 2 pound bass, and then all of a sudden it seemed like everything calmed down and the bites quit. They were just loving the lizard when I first started, and well, then that quit. They wouldn't hit anything else. They didn't want a worm, they didn't want a lizard, they didn't want a big crankbait, they didn't want a jig. But I tied on the little bait, and this is what I've been catching. It's just a matter of rethinking what you're doing and never quit. There's a piece to the puzzle. They don't all feed at the same time. While the bass quit feeding, sometimes your bluegill will feed. And that's what's going on right now. The bluegill are getting cranked up, and it seems like the bass have slowed down. So I'm gonna get him put in the cooler, and I'm gonna move to the shallow end of the pond and see if I can catch a few more. I'll be right back. Oh, that's not a brim. My goodness. If it is, he pulled drag. Nope, that's gonna be a bass. Look at there, on the tiniest little bait I've got. One little hook holding him. Ha ha ha. Gotta love it. Just gotta love it. Never quit searching for the pieces to put the puzzle together to catch a fish. Alright, calm down. I'm gonna let you go. Got that one little hook to deal with. Alright, easy. Easy does it. My little pliers out. Easy as that. Oh, he's ready to go. Well, guys, I have had a blast. I have enjoyed myself today. I've caught fish on lizards and little crankbaits and just had a big time, and that's a pretty fish. I know we're sitting right in the sun. Let's get turned around just a little. It has been a pleasure bringing this show together, and as always, it's a challenge to figure out what fish are doing and what they'll eat and what they won't eat, and persistence is the biggest. Persistence and confidence, those are your two biggest assets when you hit the water and go fishing. Wisdom comes from time on the water. You can't rush that. You just have to go hit that water and continue to learn every time you fish. Take home what you've learned and put it to good use the next time. That's the best advice I was ever given, and it holds true throughout the ages. You guys have a great day. Stay safe on the water. I'm Lowell Henderson. This is Simply Fishing, and I'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. We'll see you.